Andrew Currett, the chief engineer here with Zamboni. Here with Marty Elliott. We're kind of going to switch the roles here today. I'm going to grill Marty instead of him grilling me. So we'll get us started with some questions on kind of the main features and key features of LevelIce here. Marty, why don't you tell us a little bit about what LevelIce actually is, how it keeps that ice level?
Well, walking to arenas using a hand crank, I ask operators, how thick their ice is or how much ice they want to maintain. Traditionally it's between 1.25 inches to 1.5 inches of ice. The challenge for the operator is to understand with a hand crank, how much am I actually cutting to maintain that level of ice. With LevelIce, the laser system, you can actually dial in within 1/1000th of an inch your desired thickness. So if you want to carry 1.24 or 1.25 inch of ice, you can actually program that in, and that's how much ice you'll actually carry.
You said you can just program to that cut depth. How do we have control on those cut depths? Is there any control we can implement so, I don't have a new operator cutting way too much ice out or, not cutting at all and just sort of going out and just building up that ice and putting water down?
Where this all falls from and the initial part of the LevelIce system, how to program it is what we call benchmarking. So benchmarking the surface off the high spot of the cement. Let's say hypothetically that there's 1 inch over the high spot of the cement. Once we benchmark the actual system, you will never get below the desired thickness that we spoke to about whatever you choose, 1.25 inches. So traditionally with an operator going through creases 8 times in a 85 by 200 size NHL rink, traditionally, they're supposed to back off the blade, bring it up a couple turns so they don't take the creases out. Sometimes that doesn't happen, especially with operators that just don't have that seat time or that experience. With LevelIce though, it doesn't. It will not take out your creases because you've already set it up through the benchmark process to understand how much ice do I want to carry over my high spot, and that'll carry throughout the whole surface so that typically your paints are put in anywhere from 3/8 to 1/2 inch. You'll never get down to that position with the LevelIce laser system.
That's a great point with sort of the amount of work that it's doing. We reduce the amount it's cutting, so it's reducing the amount of work we do with that machine. So for lithium-ion machines or battery-powered machines, we'll be able to extend that cut, extend that life. That kind of ties into a couple of our other tech talks that we've had previously. With that as well, sort of reducing that cut depth. Does it have any other benefits for, sort of on the ice performance of not cutting as much?
Yeah, definitely. Let's talk about the blade. We typically say around 100 hours of ice resurfacing, time to change the blade, or traditionally between a week to a week and a half, you're changing the blade. The reduced from an energy aspect or efficiency aspect with the blade itself, you're not having to change the blade as often because you're not cutting as much. You're maintaining that ice level that you want to carry, so the blade's not dulling as quick. So you're saving money as far as having to change your blade out every week or getting them sharpened more often. That's one of the biggest efficiencies in that area. Workload on the machine, of course, because you're not constantly up and down with the hand crank and constantly moving all those parts that are in the conditioner because you're maintaining LevelIce with the LevelIce laser system. So it's giving longevity of those components, those parts, and the blade itself over a period of life of the actual machine and the operation of the machine.
And then since we've covered machine operation, how does that relate to facility operation? Are there some efficiencies that the facility can receive from the LevelIce system? How does the payback work on that? What's the biggest benefits they see?
Yeah, there's 4 components that we really look at as far as an ROI when it comes to LevelIce. One is the electrical use of the building, of your compressors, the plant. The other is of your hot water, using gas and the amount of water you're using because you're using less, maintaining LevelIce. Ice maintenance is a huge savings because typically a facility will set aside roughly 8 hours a week to perform ice maintenance on a single pad facility. That's everything from edging to chopping, doing your figure eights, cross cuts, all those things. With LevelIce, it's reducing your ice maintenance by 50% because every time the machine's on the ice with LevelIce, it's actually doing ice maintenance. So they're not having to spend those 8 hours a week maintaining and doing the things that I just spoke to because the LevelIce is working for them and doing the ice maintenance that is required. And then finally, training. Training with LevelIce, initially there's a little bit involved, but it's doing it for you, the operator. You still have to understand the machine. You still have to operate it as if you had a traditional hand crank. But once you understand LevelIce going through from automatic mode to manual mode, doing the same thing like a hand crank, back and forth, it's only a touch key. That's all you're doing. So it's taking the guesswork out of the operator's function of doing a flood, knowing or not knowing how much they're actually cutting with a hand crank. Whereas with LevelIce, it's maintaining within 1/1000th of an inch the desired thickness you want to carry. So it's doing that for the operator, taking that guesswork. out of it.
Within a thousandth of an inch, we can control
Thousandths
that.
of an inch. That's how tight
Yeah.
the system is. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. And then that thousandth of an inch control has to have some relation on that compressor load and the amount of work those compressors are doing with that surface temperature of the ice or your slab temps.
Yep.
We're carrying less ice. You're not having to cool it as much. So all that is into that sort of first point that you mentioned there of total facility payback.
Totally true. Totally true.
That total carrying
Yeah.
cost that we've seen.
And just so people understand, typically, and the numbers are plus or minus, but typically for every half inch of ice you carry in a NHL size facility, 85 by 200, for every half inch of ice you're carrying, from an electrical standpoint and costs to run your compressors in your plant is costing between $700 to $800 per month per pad. So if you're carrying an inch and a half of ice, you're looking at $2,400 just to run your compressors for that. So if you can drop your ice thickness down to a desired thickness of 1.25 inches, then you're depleting that energy cost. You're reducing it by roughly around $400 a month per pad. That's considerable savings over an 8-month or even 12-month period of a facility operating and maintaining the refrigeration plant and maintaining the temperature that they need to for slab temp to surface temp. There's cost savings involved in that. Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.